Welcome back, guys, to another episode of FX Forecasting. This is our last episode of the year. We just want to say Merry Christmas before we get started, and we wish you a very prosperous new year. Don't forget, guys, to thumbs up, comment, and if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, then make sure you do so you can keep up with us and our content in 2021, hopefully making your trading week a little bit better and also giving you some awesome education. So to get started, we're going to be going over Euro against the US dollar daily. So obviously we've got this range that has formed. We saw price break out of that range on the daily. We've seen price excel higher, but I think that over the Christmas period we will see a slowdown occur before we potentially see a continuation on the euro against the US dollar. But obviously bearing in mind that we have Brexit, and that may affect the value of the euro as well, that could be coming out over these sort of quiet trading days. So it's a very interesting time, although I do expect sort of more behaviour like this to maintain over the next week or two, and just seeing price range. I don't really expect to see too much in the forms of dramatic moves. So here's my Euro US dollar 15-minute chart. You can see we've got cluster pullback here on the first one, looking really nice, entry long. A couple more cluster pullbacks here, again all very profitable, and then another one with an overextended pullback here, rejecting that pivot point on euro against the US dollar and moving higher. And then we also have cluster here forming multiple times, showing us that there's potentially more buyers coming in. And its price has kind of rejected that pivot point on Friday for the majority of the day so far. And we expect to see price bounce along and slowly make progressive ways to the upside. But I expect more sort of behavior like this, where we can see this ranging period over the next week, especially whilst we go through the Christmas period. So this is usually is quite an easy time to trade on just trading the ranges of getting in and getting out. So bear that in mind, I suppose, this week, unless you're expecting any massive fundamental news coming out, such as the Brexit talks. So just bear that in mind as well. But overall, using a range, forming a range like you can see here between the highs and the lows, just picking the bottoms in the direction of the trend is actually quite a profitable way of trading in these sort of low liquidity months, I would say. And then obviously we're going into January, and we expect that to all change when Biden gets in, but I'll let Elliot talk about the fundamental side of that side of things. But yeah, overall, I'm expecting a low sort of movement week. I hope I'm right in that sense, and expect this range just to sort of form up here. So keep an eye out for the lows. That'll be where the opportunities are, just to get in and get out. Keep your intraday trading to the day. No overnight holding, I would have thought. That would be my sort of game plan going into this next week. So looking at pound against the US dollar daily, we have had that high range that we had formed in, and you can see how it rejected it multiple times, actually going back, and then we finally actually got a break through that. The question now is that this is obviously this seller's bar on a Friday, is the question mark, because is this going to be a fake breakout, and are we going to see price sell back off? I'll be watching this one quite closely, because this could now form as a support level, and we might see price actually just bouncing off of this level and slowly progressing to the upside. This will all be dependent on how the Brexit talk extensions have gone, and what that looks like as well. So overall on pound against the US dollar, as we've broken through that 1.35 level now, are we going to see price start to reject off of that level and start moving back to the upside? We've seen some great cluster pullbacks on cluster 2.0, providing good entries to get in, and now we're kind of at that pullback stage now where we can see price moving higher, and that's what I'd kind of expect to see throughout Monday and continuing onwards. And again, same sort of analysis as euro dollar. Expect a range to form and price to sit between those two zones until we're kind of into 2021. So that's my overall view on pound against US dollar. Going over to US dollar against the Japanese yen, this is obviously the print screen of last week's forecast, where we could see that price was in that range, and we said that we were waiting for that range to break out, and that's where we'd be looking for trades. So again, in that range, trading off of shorting off of the highs and waiting for it to break the lows and looking to enter into those short positions. When we look at actually what's happened, we can see that we actually did get price come up, hitting off the top of the range, shorting into that, price breaking down over here and breaking through that low, and we've actually broken this previous low here. I expect price to rebound up slightly, maybe even test this low, or if not, have a bit of a deeper pullback before we see more continued selling. I actually expect this trend to start shifting once the Biden administration is in, but until then, still looking at the US dollar against the Japanese yen as shorting opportunities. So on the smaller time frame, pretty straightforward, as you can see in this sort of case. You can see price spikes coming up on US dollar yen, looking to short into those. And we had a cluster here, and you can see how it's actually sort of not formed, as in is selling off. But I expect price to maybe come up slightly higher, maybe up to this previous high, before we see price to come and sell off. And that's it's not far off rejecting that 104 level, roughly up here, that we might see price come and sell off. So probably staying away from US dollar against the Japanese yen until we've seen a bit of a deeper pullback or a quite clear spike rejection before looking to join in on the short side. So that's my overall analysis on the three pairs. So again, pound dollar, euro dollar, looking for that range to form over the low sort of volume period, and trading intraday on those. No overnight holdings on those currency pairs, just because I don't really want to hold overnight during these the days off over Christmas period, market shut, things like that. So keeping trading to a low level this week and just picking the bottoms of those range on the continuation of the trend. Probably with US dollar yen, knowing that there's a bit more of a deeper pullback to see. Probably going to keep my hands off of that for now and just focus on euro dollar and pound dollar for this week. But that's my overall analysis. I'm going to hand over to Elliot, who's going to be covering a little bit more about the indices, also what's happening in the news this week and what's expected to come out fundamental-wise. So over to Elliot.
Cheers, thanks for that. Great technical analysis as always, Sam. Some good cluster entries again. It's good to see cluster is killing it, especially in these sort of low liquidity.
Yeah, I think we're going to get more of that as well.
It's just good, easy opportunities to get in and out. Yeah, it's been another busy week. Obviously, December's normally quiet. However, with all the news and fundamental stuff we've got going on at the moment, it has kept us, on our toes. We've had Bank of England come out this week, as well as the Fed. Brexit is obviously ongoing. The Fed stimulus is ongoing. We've had more approvals of vaccines. So definitely been a busy week. Let's start on Brexit. The latest headlines we've seen come out towards the end of this week is the moment of truth. So the EU have now extended the deadline to Sunday midnight. So they said any later they won't be able to approve a deal this year. So they need to give consent for a vote this year to happen if there's any deal Brexit going to be voted through the EU members. So, and obviously the fishing row is still the main obstacle. So it's, the EU want to maintain some power over the UK's waters. They want, if the UK basically won't be able to just turn away EU fishing boats, which obviously the UK is saying, that's unreasonable, we need to be in control of our waters. So, as Johnson says, it's a serious situation, and he's coming out in the press saying stuff like, it's very likely that a deal will not be reached. However, the markets are seeing it differently. Obviously, talking about pound, it's just broken through that 1.35 level this week. It's very much on, consensus for a deal, I'd say.
I just don't understand why. There's the whole point. This is a Brexit. It's like we don't have control over. Like, we're not asking for control over EU fishing waters.
No, exactly.
It's like fuck off then.
So they obviously want to have access to our waters, and if they want to say if they basically don't want us to say we'll give you access, and then 2 years down the line basically say no.
Why don't we just cut it?
Yeah.
Cut them. Them.
So.
Them. Get rid of them. What's the problem? Like, mate, that's the whole point of Brexit. We want to leave you. I think most of the people actually want that one. That was one of the main reasons why people actually wanted out. They're taking our fishing waters.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, whether they're accurate or not. I mean, there's
half of it's immigration.
It's in the UK's and the EU's interest to get some form of deal.
Do you think they should have access to our fishing waters?
Well, it's not just that, is it? It's more complicated than just saying if they're going to fish in our waters. But I think it's a whole control power thing, isn't it? Neither side looks like they're backing down. So obviously the EU don't want to look like they're backing down to us, because that'll, pass on a bad message to, say, other EU countries if they were to leave.
Yeah.
And then,
but I think
same as Boris doesn't want to come out to the public and say, we've had to concede on this. And then, like you say, it was, one of the main reasons people voted. They might lose voters in the next election. So I think at the moment it's more they don't want to, either side doesn't really want to concede on something that's getting a lot of attention in the press. So
I know that was one of the main reasons why a lot of Scottish people voted for it.
Was it?
Yeah, because of Scottish waters and the EU fishing on them.
So yeah, it's still ongoing. Obviously Sunday at midnight they're saying it's a deadline. I think it's still going to happen in some form or another, or it's going to be extended. Like I said, it's in both sides' interest to get something done. US stimulus deal, another thing that's been ongoing. Final details remain under debate. Again, there's still some sticking points that need to be resolved. And there's a Friday midnight deadline for this before short-term relief is needed to keep the government open over the weekend to extend the talks. Again, it looks like the market's pricing that in. We'll talk about the indices in a minute, but we've seen S&P make new highs, the same as NASDAQ, and you've got Dow that's just pretty much sitting at that 30,300 level. Earlier in the week, we saw the FDA approve both Pfizer and Moderna for emergency use, so that's obviously positive news. So the US have started giving out their vaccines now. Obviously, we've seen the UK were sort of the first ones to do this, and they've already started giving out, well, I don't know how many. Have you seen how many?
Yeah, I think it was like 150,000 vaccinations in the first week or something like that, and they're looking to move up to 1 million a month.
Yeah, so lots of positive news there on that side going into 2021 in terms of the vaccine. Hopefully we can finally put this COVID behind us. So yeah, we've also seen oil continue its march higher towards that $50 a barrel. So the latest price we've got on crude is $48.6. Obviously, with this sort of ties in with the vaccine stuff. As people are allowed to go back out, the demand for oil increase the price. Obviously, yeah, like I said earlier in the episode, we saw the Fed come out this week, and they've basically same story. They're going to maintain their bond buying to support the economy. They expect that the economy will bounce back in 2021, but they want to see some more fiscal stimulus to help the economy and consumers throughout the winter. So good news again for markets there. We also saw the Bank of England come out this week with their interest rate decision, which they kept unchanged, and they also kept QE at the same level. We also see the Mpc forecast updated for GDP in the last quarter of 2020, seeing a contraction of 1%. This will put GDP down 11% year on year from 2019, which is actually the biggest recession in 300 years, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's mental. That's better than what they expected as well, isn't it?
Better than what they expected, but still mad numbers.
Yeah, that is not good. Not good.
And then so to cap it off, obviously we have to get Trump in here, and he's added 80 Chinese companies to the US trade blacklist due to their ties with the Chinese military. I mean, he is on a bit of a warpath. Obviously, a lot of his time in office has been him versus China, right? So he's obviously still trying to stamp that down, and
What do you reckon in the first sort of 3 months he gets a trade deal with China done? And
Biden?
Yeah. I reckon it'll be done over the line, and it'll be like, Trump will come up and like, he's bowing down to them or something or other, but I reckon he'll get done, and then the markets will be...
It will be interesting to see Trump's Twitter after, wouldn't it? Like the first 3 months when Biden's in, how much he's tweeting and whether he's it'd be interesting to see. Actually,
he actually backed up Biden, which was really weird the other day. He was like, it's a shame to see the media now attacking Biden's family. I know so much of how that feels, so on and so forth, but I had nothing to do with the potential prosecution of what's his son's bloody name again? Hunter Biden. That's what he's saying. So he's just like putting in the limelight that Hunter Biden might be getting prosecuted, and it's just like I had nothing to do with this. Just 88 million people now can see that.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
So that's most of the stuff that's happened this week. Obviously, yeah, like Biden has been pretty much accepted now. I can't remember if that was last week or this week. It's hard to keep up with all, but
yeah, I think that was this week.
yeah, I think it was early this week, wasn't it? So yeah, like we mentioned, Dow is literally just sitting at the top of this range. So it's in this nice. It's on the hourly chart. It's maintained this nice uptrend. Obviously, we saw that break of the trend line here last week. However, we saw the markets gap up on Sunday evening, and then we did see brief selling come back in Monday night, early Tuesday, and then since then it's just sort of made higher lows and, like we say, just sitting at this 30,300 level before. It just looks like it's going to pop
If the
through.
stimulus deal goes over the line, then it will, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's just that's what it's waiting for. That's it's just waiting for that bit of positive news, just to sort of see it move on higher again.
Yeah.
FTSE, similar sort of story. It's just sitting in this range that is sort of broken through that 6,500 level, and then since then it's the highs around 6,600. Did actually break through that level and then just came back down and just sort of sitting in this range, bouncing off these lows. And again, Friday morning we saw another bounce off around, I think it's about 6,520 level.
Yeah.
Gold, we've also been looking at gold quite recently, and again that sort of made its way higher back towards the 1,900 level. We've seen a bit of selling off that rejection. However, again, it still looks good to go higher. The dollar, just keeps getting battered, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've seen Bitcoin now at 23,000, gold making its way higher. Obviously, you've seen euro continuing its move higher against the dollar. So yeah, dollar weakness really.
Yeah.
I think that's been supported by what the Fed came out this week and just said, it's not, we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this weakness of this currency. We're going to, support the economy as much as we can. So until they sort of change their stance, it's going to be hard to see strength come back into the US dollar.
Yeah.
So what's coming up next week? Obviously, the two top ones here, we're still waiting to get confirmation, Brexit and US stimulus. And next week's obviously going to be a short week before Christmas. It's Christmas on Friday. But we do have those confirmed numbers for GDP coming out in the UK and US. So other than that, it's going to be a relatively quiet week, other than these two big announcements that we should see either way, yes or no, I think.
Yeah, hopefully it gets done and dusted.
Can't really extend it. I mean, they keep extending. It's like, it's hilarious, isn't it? Oh, this is the deadline. No. This is the deadline. No. This is the deadline. It's like,
yeah. Imagine you could do that with your school, like,
homework.
Yeah. No. Deadline. No, it's next week now.
Yeah.
No, the hard deadline's next week. Okay, well, we can't agree on that. So next week after that, all right? You just never get anywhere, would you? It's just like, get the deal done or don't.
Yeah.
Job done.
It's one of those things where it's like neither side doesn't want to back down. Right? You've got the EU or UK don't want to back down, and then you've got the Republicans and the Democrats neither want to back down and be seen as weak. So it's like we just continue until they meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, happy days. Have a great Christmas.
Yeah, that's pretty much wrap up for us on our weekly forecast, guys. I mentioned in the previous video as well, if you do see yourself as a Samuel & Co trader in 2021, then be sure to apply in the link in the description below. Has a little bit more information about what that entails, how you can get involved with us as a trading company, and hopefully our paths cross in 2021. Either way, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2021, and a safe one as well. Don't forget to thumbs up, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you in the new year.